The ship Stellar Dawn floated dead in space. Inside, Captain Vexthan Morlock looked at the red warning lights that covered his control room. Every screen showed the same terrible message. The warp core was broken. They could not move. They could not go home. 50,000 people lived on this ship. Families with children. Old people who had worked their whole lives. Scientists and teachers and farmers. All of them were trapped in the dark between the stars. How long do we have? Vexthan asked his chief engineer. Kylara looked at her datapad. Her crystal skin was pale with worry. 3 days, maybe 4. The air recyclers are failing. The food makers stopped working an hour ago. Vexthan closed his 4 eyes. His people, the Zephyrians, had traveled space for thousands of years. They were peaceful. They traded with other worlds. They shared knowledge. They had never hurt anyone. And now they were going to die because a machine broke down. "Sir," said the communications officer, "should we send a distress call?" Vexthan thought about this. They were in the Kepler 442 system, far from any major trade routes. The nearest Zephyrian world was weeks away, even with a fast ship, but maybe someone would hear them. "Yes," he said. "Send it on all frequencies. Tell everyone who can hear us that we need help." The message went out into space. It traveled at the speed of light, reaching out in all directions. The call was simple. They were dying. They needed rescue. "Please help. The first to receive this message were the Altarians. They were tall, thin beings with large heads and silver skin. They could read minds and thought they were the smartest race in the galaxy. The Altarian Council met in their crystal city on their homeworld. The Zephyrians are in trouble," said Council leader Zareth. "They need rescue ships." "Where are they?" asked another council member. "The Kepler system. Very far from here." The council was quiet. Then Zareth spoke again. "It would cost too much. We would have to send many ships. We would have to use much fuel. The risk is too high. But people will die," said a young council member. "That is unfortunate," said Zareth, "but we must think of our own people first." The Altarians turned off their receivers. They would not help. The Nexus Collective got the message next. They were part machine, part living being. They thought only in numbers and logic. Their central computer brain calculated the cost of a rescue mission. Probability of successful rescue, 60%, the computer said. Cost in ships and fuel, very high. Benefit to Nexus Collective, 0. Recommendation, ignore distress call. The cyborg leaders agreed. It made no logical sense to help the Zephyrians. They had nothing to offer in return. The Nexus Collective also ignored the call. The Draconian Empire heard the message too. They were warriors, strong and proud. They looked like dragons from old Earth stories, with scales and sharp teeth. But they only helped those who could fight beside them or pay them well. General Krextall read the message on his war room screen. "The Crystal people are in trouble," he said to his officers. "Should we send ships?" asked one officer. "What can they give us?" Krextall asked. "The Zephyrians do not fight. They do not make weapons. They have nothing we need. They will die if no one helps them." Krextall shrugged his massive shoulders. "Then they die. Only the strong survive in this galaxy." The Draconians went back to planning their next conquest. 3 days passed. The message traveled farther and farther from the dying ship. It reached smaller worlds, weaker civilizations. Most ignored it. Some wanted to help, but had no ships that could travel so far. The Zephyrians were alone. On the Stellar Dawn, things got worse. The air became thin and hard to breathe. Children started coughing. Old people collapsed in the corridors. The lights grew dim to save power. Vexthan walked through his ship, trying to comfort his people. But what could he say? Help was not coming. The greatest civilizations in the galaxy had heard their call and turned away. "Captain," a mother said to him, holding her sick child, "when will the rescue ships arrive?" Vex then looked at the small girl in her mother's arms. The child's crystal skin was turning gray from lack of oxygen. "Soon," he lied. "Very soon." But he knew the truth. No one was coming. Then, on the fourth day, something happened. Far away on the edge of human space, a young woman sat at a communications desk on a small research ship. Her name was Katie Brooks, and she was only 23 years old. She worked the night shift, listening to radio signals from space that most nights were quiet. She heard pulsar signals and solar wind. Sometimes she picked up messages from human ships, but tonight was different. The signal was weak, but she heard it. Numbers and patterns that could only mean one thing. Someone was in trouble. Katie had never heard of Zephyrians. She did not know what they looked like or where they came from. But she understood the universal language of mathematics. She understood that someone, somewhere, was dying. She ran to find her captain. Captain Ryan Martinez was sleeping, but Katie woke him up. "Sir, you need to hear this," she said. Ryan listened to the signal. He was older than Katie, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been in space for 30 years. He understood what the numbers meant. "Where is it coming from?" he asked. "The Kepler system, sir. About 4 days away at maximum speed." Ryan was quiet for a long time. Then he called his crew to the meeting room. All 15 members of his research team came. They listened to the signal. "Someone needs help," Ryan said. "We don't know who they are. We don't know if they're friendly. We don't know what we'll find when we get there. But they're dying, and we might be the only ones who can save them." The crew looked at each other. Dr. Amy Rodriguez, the team scientist, spoke first. "We're just a research ship. We don't have medical supplies for a major rescue." "We can call for help," said Chief Engineer Carlos Mendez. "Get the Navy to send proper rescue ships." "There's no time," Katie said. "Look at the signal strength. It's getting weaker. Whatever's wrong with their ship, it's getting worse." Ryan nodded. "We have to decide now. Do we go, or do we let them die?" The vote was quick. 15 people. 15 votes. "Oh, yes. Then we go," Ryan said. "And we call every human ship we can reach. If we're going to save these people, we're going to need help." As the New Horizon changed course toward the Kepler system, Captain Ryan Martinez did not know that he was about to change the galaxy forever. He only knew that someone had asked for help, and humans never ignored a call for help. The message spread through human space like fire. Captain Ryan Martinez had sent out an emergency call to every human ship and station within 100 light years. The words were simple: unknown aliens in distress, massive rescue operation needed. All ships respond. Admiral Lisa Chun was eating breakfast on Earth when the call reached her. She was the commander of the Third Fleet, 12 of humanity's best ships. She read the message twice, then called her staff. "How fast can we get the fleet ready?" she asked. 6 hours, Admiral," said her aide. "But we don't know anything about these aliens. They could be hostile. They could be trying to trap us." Lisa looked out the window at the blue sky of Earth. Somewhere out there, people were dying. It did not matter what they looked like or where they came from. "Get the fleet ready," she said. "We leave in 4 hours. The flagship of the rescue fleet was the Liberty, commanded by Jake Sullivan. Jake was 45 years old and had spent half his life in space. He had fought pirates and explored new worlds, but he had never tried to save an entire alien civilization. "What do we know about them?" Jake asked Dr. Amy Rodriguez. Amy had transferred from the research ship to help with the rescue. "They call themselves Zephyrians," Amy said. "From what we can tell, They're peaceful traders. Their ship is huge. Maybe 50,000 people on board. 50,000, Jake said quietly. And their ship is dying. The signal is getting weaker every hour, Amy confirmed. We're running out of time. Across the fleet, humans worked without rest. Dr. Sam Peterson loaded medical supplies onto 3 hospital ships. He had never treated an alien before, but he knew how to save lives. Chief Engineer Beth Collins checked every repair tool and spare part they had. Whatever was wrong with the alien ship, she would fix it. The fleet launched from Earth orbit in record time. 12 ships carrying the best and brightest humans could offer. But they were not the only ones coming to help. Captain Martinez's research ship, New Horizon, had reached the Kepler system first. They found the stellar dawn drifting in the dark, its lights barely glowing. The alien ship was massive, like a crystal, mountain floating in space. "This is the human ship New Horizon," Martinez broadcasted. "We received your distress call. Help is coming." The response came back in a language no human had ever heard. But the emotion was clear. Hope. Dr. Rodriguez worked with the ship's computer to decode the alien language. It was difficult, but some concepts were universal. Numbers, basic science, and most importantly, the word for thank you. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other civilizations watched in shock. The Altarians had monitoring stations throughout space. They saw the human fleet racing toward the Kepler system. "They're actually going," said Council Leader Zareth. "The humans are really trying to rescue them." "How many ships?" asked a council member. 15 so far, more coming." The Altarians could not believe it. They had calculated the cost of rescuing the Zephyrians. It would take dozens of ships, millions of credits in fuel and supplies, and weeks of dangerous travel. No rational species would pay such a price for strangers. The Nexus Collective was equally confused. Their computer brains tried to understand human logic, but the calculations made no sense. "Humans gain nothing from this rescue," the central computer announced. "The Zephyrians have no advanced technology to trade. They have no strategic value. They have no resources to offer." "Then why are the humans helping them?" asked a cyborg. "Leader, unknown. Human behavior does not compute." The Draconian Empire was the most disturbed of all. General Krextall called his war council together. "The humans are mobilizing their entire third fleet," he told his officers. 12 of their best warships. "Are they planning to conquer the Zephyrians?" asked an officer. "No," Krextall said. "Intelligence reports say they're carrying medical supplies and repair equipment. They're really trying to save them." The dragon-like warriors looked at each other in confusion. In their culture, strength was everything. You fought for territory, for resources, for honor. You did not risk your best ships to save weaklings you had never met. "What kind of species does this?" one officer asked. Krextall had no answer. Back in the Kepler system, the human rescue fleet arrived. The Liberty took position near the dying alien ship. Jake Sullivan studied the massive vessel on his screens. "It's beautiful," he said. The ship looked like it was made of living crystal, with elegant curves and glowing panels. But many of the lights were dark now, and Jake could see blast damage on the hull. "Their reactor is failing," reported Chief Engineer Collins from her. "Repair ship. Whatever hit them, it damaged their main power source." "Can you fix it?" Jake asked. "Maybe, but I'll need to get inside their ship." This was the dangerous part. Humans had never been on an alien ship before. The atmosphere might be poison. The aliens might carry diseases. The ship's defenses might still be working, but Dr. Peterson was already suiting up. "I'm going over there," he said. "People are dying." "I'm coming with you," said Beth Collins. "Someone needs to look at their reactor." Jake wanted to stop them. As fleet commander, He was responsible for every human life. But he looked at the alien ship and thought about 50,000 people slowly suffocating in the dark. "Go," he said, "but be careful." The first humans to board an alien ship found something they did not expect. The Zephyrians were not monsters or warriors. They looked like living statues made of clear crystal. They were beautiful and gentle, and they were dying. Dr. Peterson set up his medical equipment in what looked like their hospital. The alien doctors watched him work, trying to learn from his techniques. Even though they could not speak the same language, they both understood the goal. Save lives. Engineer Collins found the reactor room. The alien engine was unlike anything humans had built, but the principles were the same. Power generation, plasma containment, magnetic fields. She could work with this. "I need more people," she radioed back to the fleet, "and bring every spare part we have." For the next 24 hours, humans worked like they had never worked before. They brought over life support equipment, medical supplies, food, and water. They shared their own air with the aliens while the ship's systems were repaired. Zephyrians watched in amazement. These strange aliens from a distant world had come to save them. They asked for nothing in return. They risked their own lives to help complete strangers. Captain Vex then met with Jake Sullivan in the ship's command center. They used translation computers to communicate. "Why?" Vex then asked. "Why did you come?" Jake thought about this question. How could he explain humanity to this alien captain? How could he describe the feeling that made humans travel across the galaxy to help people they had never met? "Because you needed help," Jake said finally, "and we could give it." Vexton stared at him with his 4 crystal eyes. In all his years traveling the galaxy, he had never heard such simple words carry such power. The rescue work continued. More human ships arrived. Scientists, engineers, doctors, and volunteers. They came not for glory or profit, but because someone, somewhere, had asked for help. And across the galaxy, other civilizations watched and wondered what kind of species humanity really was. The first thing the Zephyrians noticed about humans was how small they were. Captain Vexton stood nearly 8 feet tall, with crystal skin that caught the light like a prism. The humans barely reached his chest, but size did not matter when Dr. Sam Peterson rolled up his sleeves and got to work. "These children need oxygen now," Peterson said, even though no one could understand him yet. He set up portable breathing units around the alien medical bay. The Zephyrian doctors watched as he worked on their patients with gentle hands. Kylara, the chief engineer, led Beth Collins to the broken reactor. The engine room was a maze of crystal tubes and flowing energy. It was beautiful, but it was dying. "The containment field is collapsing," Collins said, studying her instruments. "We need to reroute power through the secondary systems." She worked for 18 hours straight. Her hands were cut from the sharp crystal components, but she did not stop. Around her, human and Zephyrian engineers worked together, sharing tools and knowledge even when they could not share words. On the command deck, Jake Sullivan watched the rescue operation through his ship's cameras. He saw his people working themselves to exhaustion for aliens they had just met. It made him proud to be human. "Commander," said his communications officer, Katie Brooks, "we're getting messages from across the galaxy. Everyone wants to know what we're doing here." "What are you telling them?" Jake asked. "The truth. We're saving lives." The truth was spreading through space faster than light. Every major civilization had monitoring stations and spy networks. They all watched the human rescue fleet with growing amazement. In the Altarian capital, Council Leader Zareth called an emergency meeting. The great crystal dome filled with telepathic leaders from across their empire. "The humans have been working for 3 days," Zareth announced. "They have transferred half their food supplies to the alien ship. They have given their own oxygen to keep the aliens alive. They have sent their best engineers to work on a completely unknown technology. This makes no sense, said another council member. What do they want in return? Nothing, Zareth said quietly. Our spies report that the humans ask for nothing. They simply help. The council fell silent. They had built their civilization on logic and careful planning. Every action had a purpose. Every decision was calculated. But the humans seemed to operate on pure instinct. Could this be a trap? Asked a young member. Perhaps they planned to. Capture the alien ship? No, Zareth said. They're fixing it. They're giving it new engines, better life support, upgraded systems. They're making it stronger than it was before. The Altarians did not understand. In their world, you helped others only if they could help you back. But the Zephyrians were peaceful traders with no military power. They had nothing to offer humanity except gratitude. The Nexus Collective was even more confused. Their central computer had been running calculations for 72 hours, trying to understand human motivation. Analysis complete, the computer announced. Human behavior is irrational. They are spending resources with no expected return. They are risking their lives for unknown entities. They are operating outside all known parameters of intelligent behavior. Are they mentally defective? Asked a cyborg leader. Unknown. Their technology is advanced. Their strategy is effective. But their motivations are incomprehensible. The computer paused, processing more data. Additional observation. Human efficiency increases when working to help others. Their performance improves when the stakes are not personal gain, but the welfare of strangers. This was the most disturbing finding of all. The Nexus Collective believed that self-interest was the highest form of logic. But humans seemed to work harder when helping others than when helping themselves. The Draconian Empire was watching too. General Krextal had sent 3 scout ships to observe the rescue operation. Their reports made him increasingly uncomfortable. The humans are not behaving like conquerors, reported his lead scout. They treat the aliens with respect. They work alongside them as equals. They share their food and risk their lives for alien children. What do their leaders demand? Krextal asked. Nothing, General. They ask for nothing. When the alien captain tried to offer them payment, they refused. Krextal paced his war room. He had conquered 17 worlds and subjugated dozens of species. He understood power, fear, and domination. But this was something else entirely. Are they weak? He asked. No, General. Their ships are well armed and their crews are disciplined. But they use their strength to protect, not to conquer. Back on the Stellar Dawn, the rescue was nearly complete. The Zephyrian ship hummed with new life. The lights were bright, the air was clean, and the children were laughing again. Dr. Rodriguez had made a breakthrough with the translation system. Now humans and Zephyrians could have real conversations. Why did you come? Asked Vexthan. For the 100th time. He still could not believe that strangers had traveled across the galaxy to save his people. Jake Sullivan sat beside him in the crystal garden at the heart of the ship. Around them, Zephyrian families tended to plants that grew in geometric patterns, creating art from living things. On my world, Jake said, we have a saying. No one gets left behind. It means that when someone is in trouble, you help them. Even if you don't know them. Even if it's dangerous. Even if you get nothing in return. But why? Vexthan asked. What created this belief? Jake thought about human history. The wars, the disasters, the times when people had to choose between safety and doing what was right. Maybe because we've all been in trouble before, he said. Every human knows what it feels like to need help. So when we see someone else who needs help, we remember that feeling. Dr. Peterson joined them, tired but smiling. The last of the critical patients are stable, he reported. Your medical team is incredible. They learned our techniques in 3 days. Thank you, Vex then said. Thank you for showing us that not all species think only of themselves. The words stung because they were true. The Zephyrians had sent their distress call to every major civilization. Only the humans had answered Dot as the human fleet prepared to escort the Stellar Dawn to safety. News of the rescue spread across the galaxy. But it was not just the fact that humans had saved the aliens. It was how they had done it. The Altarians learned that human medical teams had risked alien diseases to treat patients. The Nexus Collective discovered that human engineers had shared their most advanced technology freely. The Draconians found out that human soldiers had given their own food to alien children. But the most shocking revelation came from the Zephyrians themselves. When Galactic News Networks interviewed Captain Vexton, he said something that changed everything. They asked for nothing, he said. Not territory, not technology, not trade agreements. When I offered to pay them, they looked confused. They said the payment was seeing our children smile again. The interview was broadcast across the galaxy. In council chambers and war rooms, on peaceful worlds and military bases, every intelligent species heard the same impossible truth. Humans had risked their lives, spent their resources, and traveled across the galaxy for one reason only, because someone had asked for help. The galaxy had seen conquerors and traders, scientists and warriors. But they had never seen anything like this. They had never seen a species that measured success not by what they gained, but by what they gave. And for the first time in galactic history, the great civilizations felt something they had never experienced. Before, they felt Shane Dot. The Altarians realized that their superior intellect meant nothing if they would not help the dying. The Nexus Collective understood that their perfect logic was flawed if it could not account for compassion. The Draconians discovered that true strength came not from conquering the weak, but from protecting them. As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace with the rescued alien ship, they left behind a galaxy that would never be the same. They had not fired a shot or made a demand. They had simply shown everyone what it meant to be human. And across the stars, other species began to ask themselves a terrifying question. If humans could do this for strangers, what else might they be capable? Oh? The Stellar Dawn arrived at the Zephyrian homeworld 3 weeks after the rescue. Captain Vexton stood on the bridge of his ship, looking down at the crystal cities of his world. His people were home, alive, because strangers from across the galaxy had chosen to help them. Behind him, human escort ships maintained formation. Commander Jake Sullivan had insisted on making sure the Zephyrians reached safety. Even now, human engineers were working to upgrade the alien ship's systems. You don't have to do this, Vexton told Jake over the communication link. We are safe now. We want to make sure you stay safe, Jake replied. Besides, our engineers are having fun. They've never seen technology like yours before. The Zephyrian homeworld had been watching the rescue operation through quantum communications. When the ships entered orbit, millions of crystal beings gathered. In the cities below, they had prepared a celebration for their returned people. But they had also prepared something else, a formal testimony for the Galactic Council. The Galactic Council met on Nexus Prime, a neutral world at the center of known space. Representatives from every major civilization gathered in the Great Assembly Hall. They came to hear Captain Vex then speak about the Human Rescue. Council Speaker Thane, an ancient being from one of the first spacefaring races, called the session to order. We have gathered to hear testimony about recent events in the Kepler system. Captain Vexton of the Zephyrian trading vessel Stellar Dawn will present his account. Vexton stood before the assembled representatives. He saw the Altarians in their silver robes, the cyborg forms of the Nexus Collective, the armored bulk of Draconian warriors. All of them had heard his distress call. None of them had come. Honored Council, Vex then began, 3 weeks ago. My ship suffered a catastrophic failure. 50,000 of my people faced death in the void of space. We sent a distress call to every civilization within range. He paused, looking at each delegation in turn. Many of you heard our call. All of you chose not to answer. The hall was silent. Vex then continued. One species did answer. The humans traveled 4 days at maximum speed to reach us. They brought their entire rescue fleet. They risked their lives to save people they had never met. What did they ask for in return? Interrupted the Altarian representative. Nothing, Vex then said. When I offered payment, they refused. When I offered technology, they said they were happy to share. Their own. When I offered alliance, they said friendship was enough. Murmurs spread through the assembly. The Nexus Collective representative stood. This behavior is irrational, the cyborg stated. No species acts without self-interest. What was their true motive? Vexthan's crystal skin flashed with emotion. You think like machines, he said. The humans think like something we have forgotten how to be. They think like people who care about others. The draconian representative, General Krextal himself, rose from his seat. His massive form cast a shadow over the assembly. Care is weakness, he growled. The strong consume the weak. This is the law of nature. Then humans must be very weak. Vexthan said quietly. Because they cared enough to risk everything for strangers. They cared enough to work without sleep to save our children. They cared enough to give us their own food when ours ran out. He looked directly at Krextal. And yet their ships were strong enough to cross the galaxy. Their technology was advanced enough to repair systems they had never seen before. Their people were brave enough to board an alien vessel and work beside beings they had never met. If caring is weakness, Vexthan continued, then how did the humans succeed where all of your strength failed? A question hung in the air like a weapon. Krextal had no answer. The testimony was broadcast across the galaxy. In every major city, on every important world, people gathered to watch and listen. The story spread like wildfire dot on the Altarian homeworld. Council leader Zareth found himself facing angry crowds. His people were questioning their leaders for the first time in centuries. Why didn't we help them? Demanded a young Altarian. We have the ships. We have the technology. It was not logical, Zareth replied. The cost was too high. But the humans paid that cost, another voice called out. What does that make us? Zareth had no answer. For the first time in his long life, he felt shame. The Nexus Collective was having similar problems. Their perfect logic systems were being questioned by their own people. If humans can achieve better results through illogical behavior, asked a cyborg philosopher, then perhaps our logic is incomplete. The central computer tried to process this paradox and failed. How could irrational behavior produce rational results? How could caring about others be more effective than caring about yourself? But the Draconian Empire faced the greatest crisis. Their entire culture was built on the idea that might makes right. The strong ruled, the weak served. But the humans had shown strength through service, power through compassion. General Krextal called his war council together. His greatest warriors gathered in the Black Stone Chamber where they planned their conquests. The humans trouble me, Krextal admitted. They show strength by helping the weak. They gain power by giving it away. This challenges everything we believe. They are still small, said one of his officers. Their fleet is tiny compared to ours. But look what they accomplished, Krextal replied. They saved 50,000 lives in 3 days. They turned enemies into friends without firing a shot. They gained respect across the galaxy by asking for nothing. He paused, thinking about the implications. What if they're right? What if true strength comes from protecting others, not from conquering them? His officers looked at each other in shock. Their general was questioning the foundation of their entire civilization. Meanwhile, in human space, Admiral Lisa Chun was dealing with an unexpected problem. Every day, more alien ships appeared at the borders of human territory. Not warships or traders, but refugee vessels and distress calls. "They're all asking for the same thing," reported her aide. "They want human protection. They want to join our rescue fleets. They want to learn how to help others the way we helped the Zephyrians." Lisa looked at the reports piling up on her desk. 17 different species had requested human assistance in the past week. Some were fleeing wars, others had suffered disasters. A few simply wanted to ally with the species that had shown such compassion. "What are we going to do?" her aide asked. "We can't save everyone." Lisa thought about Jake Sullivan and his crew, racing across the galaxy to answer a distress call from strangers. She thought about Dr. Peterson working without sleep to save alien children. She thought about Beth Collins cutting her hands on crystal machinery to repair a ship she had never seen before. "We're going to try," she said finally. "We're going to help everyone we can." Across the galaxy, intelligence networks were working overtime to understand the human threat. But it was not the threat they had expected. The humans were not building invasion fleets or claiming territory. They were not demanding tribute or establishing colonies. Instead, they were doing something far more dangerous to the established order. They were inspiring hope. Oppressed populations looked at the human rescue and asked why their own governments would not help them. Conquered worlds wondered why their rulers took everything and gave nothing back. Entire civilizations began to question leaders who measured success only by what they gained for themselves. The great powers realized they faced a crisis, unlike any in galactic history. The humans had not attacked them with weapons or threats. They had done something much worse. They had shown everyone a better way to live. And for civilizations built on selfishness, greed, and the exploitation of the weak, nothing could be more terrifying than the idea that there was another choice. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of taking was ending. The age of giving had begun. And at the center of it all were the humans, asking nothing and offering everything, changing the universe one rescue at a time. 6 months after the rescue of the Stellar Dawn, Admiral Jake Sullivan stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Hope. He was no longer just a fleet commander. The human government had promoted him to protector of refugee operations, a job that had not existed before the Zephyrian rescue docked around his ship. A small fleet of vessels drifted in formation. There were human ships, but also Zephyrian crystal vessels, converted Altarian research ships, and even a few former Nexus Collective transports. They all flew the same flag now, a simple white banner with a blue circle, the universal symbol. For help, Admiral called his communications officer. "We're getting another distress call. The Kuruthi mining colony on Sigma 7. Their planet is dying." Jake nodded. It was the 4th call this week. Word had spread across the galaxy that if you needed help, you called the humans. They would come, set course for Sigma 7, he ordered, and send word to the rescue fleet. "We have work to do." But Jake did not know that across the galaxy, in secret meeting rooms and hidden command centers, the great powers were planning to stop him. On Altair Prime, Council Leader Zareth met with his most trusted advisors in a room shielded from all surveillance. The crystal walls glowed with soft light, but the mood was dark. "The situation is getting worse," Zareth said. 3 of our colony worlds have requested human protection. Our own people are questioning why we will not help them when the humans will. "It is spreading like a disease," said another council member. "This idea that the strong should serve the weak instead of ruling them. The humans have made 17 species into allies in 6 months," Zareth continued. "Not through conquest or trade agreements, but through simple acts of kindness. They are building an empire of gratitude. What do they want? Ask the military advisor. That is what terrifies me, Zareth replied. They want nothing. They ask for nothing. They demand nothing. They simply help, and people follow them willingly. The council fell silent. They had built their civilization on careful calculations and logical decisions. But how do you fight an enemy that wants nothing from you except the chance to help you? Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, the cyborg leaders of the collective faced their own crisis. The central computer had been running analysis programs for weeks, trying to understand the human threat. Report, commanded the Supreme Node. Human influence continues to expand, the computer replied. They have established refugee camps on 14 worlds. They have created medical stations in 7 star systems. They have shared advanced technology with 32 species. And what do they ask in return? Nothing. They ask only that those they help consider helping others in need. The Supreme Node processed this information. This behavior pattern is infectious. Species that receive human aid begin to copy human methods. They start helping others instead of focusing on their own advancement. Is this a threat to the collective? Affirmative. If all species begin to share resources freely, the collective's advantage in technology and efficiency becomes meaningless. If all species begin to help each other, there is no need for the collective's central planning. The cyborg leaders looked at each other with their mechanical eyes. They had built their society on the idea that emotion was weakness and logic was strength. But the humans were proving that kindness could be the most logical choice of all. The Draconian Empire was facing the worst crisis. General Krextal had reports from across his territory of rebellions and uprisings. But these were not normal rebellions fought with weapons and armies. These were rebellions of conscience. The conquered worlds are refusing to pay tribute, reported his intelligence chief. They say if the humans can protect people for free, why should they pay us for protection? What about our own people? Krextal asked. Worse. Young Draconians are leaving to join human rescue fleets. They say they want to be heroes, not conquerors. Krextal slammed his massive fist on the table. Heroes, bah! There is no honor in serving weaklings. But even as he said it, he knew he was wrong. He had watched the human rescue operation himself. He had seen their courage, their dedication, their willingness to risk everything for strangers. If that was not honor, what was? The 3 great powers realized they faced a threat unlike any in galactic history. The humans were not trying to conquer them. They were doing something much worse. They were making conquest irrelevant. Who needed to rule through fear when you could lead through love? Who needed to take by force when people would give freely? Who needed armies when volunteers would risk their lives for others? A secret meeting was called on neutral ground. Representatives from the Altarians, the Nexus Collective, and the Draconian Empire gathered on a small moon in unclaimed space. We must act, said Zareth. The humans are destroying the natural order of the galaxy. Agreed, said the Nexus. Representative, their influence grows daily. Soon, every species will expect help instead of paying for it. They make us all look weak, growled Krextal. My own warriors ask why we conquer when we could protect. It is madness. Then we are agreed, Zareth said. The humans must be stopped before their ideas spread further. But stopping the humans would not be easy. They had no central government to threaten, no capital world to attack. They were spread across the galaxy in small fleets, always moving, always helping. Worse, they were protected by the very people they served. Every species they had helped would fight to defend them. The humans had built the strongest alliance in galactic history by asking for nothing and giving everything. Dr. Amy Rodriguez, now serving as humanity's chief diplomat, learned of the secret alliance from a Zephyrian intelligence officer. She brought the news to Admiral Sullivan aboard the Hope. "They're planning to move against us," she said. "All three powers working together for the first time in history." Jake looked out at the stars, thinking of all the people they had saved, all the worlds they had protected. "What do they want?" "For us to stop," Amy said. "They want us to go back to human space and leave the galaxy alone. And if we refuse, they'll force us to stop." Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he called his crew together in the ship's meeting room. Officers from a dozen different species gathered around the table. Human, Zephyrian, reformed Altarian, former Nexus cyborgs, even a young Draconian who had left his empire to join the rescue fleet. "We have a choice to make," Jake said. "We can go home and be safe, or we can stay and keep helping people who need us." "What about the threat?" asked his Altarian science officer. "There will always be threats," Jake replied. "The question is, do we let fear stop us from doing what's right?" The vote was unanimous. They would stay. But as the human rescue fleets continued their work, they did not know that their greatest test was coming. The three great powers had agreed on a plan. They would not attack the humans directly. Instead, they would create a crisis so large, so dangerous, that the humans would have no choice but to abandon their rescue missions. They would force humanity to choose between saving the galaxy and saving themselves. The plan was simple and terrible. The Draconians would attack a peaceful world. The Nexus Collective would cut off all aid to their client species. The Altarians would withdraw their protection from vulnerable colonies. All across the galaxy, disasters would strike. At once, millions would be in danger. And the humans, with their small fleets and limited resources, could not save everyone. The great powers believed this would break the human spirit. When people saw that the humans could not help them, they would lose faith. The old order would return, but they had made one crucial mistake. They did not understand what they were really fighting. They thought they were fighting human ships and human technology. But they were really fighting something much more powerful. They were fighting hope itself. And hope, once awakened, is the hardest thing in the universe to destroy. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the storm to come. And in the darkness between the stars, human ships moved toward danger once again, ready to prove that some things are worth any sacrifice. Final battle was about to begin. Not a battle of weapons and armies, but a battle for the soul of the galaxy itself.